Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online video with me, Sherman. Today guys, we're going to be talking about the new set changes coming with the Deadlands DLC and Update 32. So, what's the big deal about them? Well, they're universal. 90% of most sets before were limited to specifically stamina or magicka, which isn't a bad thing, but it's also not a good thing because of the fact that it really led down a really interesting, or limited, I should say. It led to a really limited amount of build options and build viability. So a lot of people looked at a lot of sets and said, okay, this is a tank set, this is a healer set, this is a damage dealer set, and really specified what a lot of sets did based on that. But because of these new changes, which we're going to take a look at now, so I'm in my inventory, of course, you can see that. We're going to take a look at a few sets that I have equipped on this build that I actually play on the live server, but I made it on the PTS again, because I want to see how it worked out. As you can see, I have a 49% weapon crit, 37% spell crit, 3673 spell damage, with a 4066 weapon damage. I'm using sets that stack a lot of weapon damage normally with this build, but now this build gets a lot of spell damage as well. So normally this set uses Hunting's Rage, but I switched it over to the Night Mothers because of the penetration. And as you can see, weapon crit, spell crit, or the critical chance, and then the weapon spell damage on it. And then whenever you deal damage, of course, you apply major breach. This is really good for AoE damage, applying a lot of damage to a lot of targets at once, and it makes it really easy because all you have to do is crit damage. So why is this good? Well, this change to sets, getting critical chance and weapon and spell damage, allows for a lot of versatility in builds now. Builds aren't just restricted to playing just one role if you want to be serious. Like this build here, a lot of people would look at it and say, yeah, but it can't really be a tank unless you change a lot of things. Well, let's take a look at something else that was added, the armory station. This allows you to customize your build to what you want. Like I can go in here and I can say build 1, and I can equip the build, or not equip the build, sorry, save the build. Okay, and then there's supposed to be a way you can like change the name. There it is, and you can even change the symbol for it. So this is called the assassin build. The setup it is in right now is an assassin. So I want to find something that is very assassin related. Perfect. And we're going to call it the Assassin. Oop. And then we're going to close it out. Now we have this symbol, says it's an assassin. It shows the assassin. It even shows our stuff. I don't have a thing here. I need to fix that real quick. But it even shows my equipment that I have set up, shows the weapons I have set up, and it shows how I have my stats set up. And it saves it. Now, if I were to change something, like, say, go to town, respec this character into more of a tank, I could set him up as a tank. I could set him up as a healer. I can set him up as a lot of things. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to be the best healer or the best tank, because the build itself is designed around being a damage dealer. So, what does that mean, though? Still, it means that if you need a healer, or you need a tank for something, but you don't have anybody on in your guild or your friends list that's a tank, you can say, hey, I'll tank, all I need to do is switch my role. And this makes it really easy. Because of the changes to the gear sets, we can now universally use them for anything. I know a lot of people don't believe it, or don't understand how you could use a set like Night Mothers or Night Mothers Embrace as sets for that. But look at Night Mother's Embrace. This adds stamina, weapon and spell damage, stamina recovery, and then more weapon and spell damage, and then it reduces your radius of being detected while sneaking and reduces the cost of sneak. This makes you perfect for Dark Brotherhood stuff, Thieves Guild stuff, and assassination. That's why it's made. You know, this build is made for that purpose. Then you look at Veladris. Now adds weapon and spell damage. It deals disease damage. I also have this on my bow, the enchantment that gives me extra weapon damage. I have infused on the front for stamina recovery, and I have a 1500 stamina recovery out the door without any buffs. Now, if I were to use a buff, drink, I go to 1950 stamina recovery, and I go to 4786 weapon damage with 49% weapon crit as a DPS, as more of a stamina DPS. But it doesn't mean that I can't change things around to give me more of that universal flexibility by just changing a few things on my bar or my skills. The reason why the set change is so good is because it allows people to truly play how they want. They get to design the character they want, and they get to play it how they want. They're not restricted anymore. They're not limited to just, oh, I'm a healer all the time, or I'm just a tank all the time. And I think this is going to not only change how the game plays, it's also going to help a lot of people who struggle playing roles like tanks and healers because of how hard they struggle getting through content. I've talked to a lot of people in MMOs, not just ESO, but a lot of MMOs, where the biggest complaint for playing tanks and healers is they don't deal enough damage. Well, if you could change the spec of your character and how they play just by going to the armory station or going to the new armory assistant, and allows you to change on the fly to your different builds, then it opens up a lot of possibilities, again, to allow you to have a more flexible character in different situations. Now, this idea of playing a character outside their role normally, from being a tank or a healer to, say, a damage dealer on those ones, or even being a tank on a healer role, it doesn't mean that you can tank the most difficult, challenging content. Your character's still designed to play that role in a specific situation. So when it comes to being a character that's designed to be a healer, you're designed to be a healer for the more challenging group content. When your character's made to be a damage dealer, they're made to be a damage dealer for the more challenging group content. When your character's made to be a tank, they're made to be a tank for the more challenging group content. Well, what is the more challenging group content? Hard mode, veteran mode. And a lot of dungeons you can actually complete in veteran mode, like the base game and some of the DLC dungeons. You don't need a super tank. You just need somebody who can tank. Hard mode, you definitely need somebody who is geared to be a tank. Not saying that you can't do it as somebody that's not geared to be a tank. It's going to be a lot more challenging. It's going to be harder for your group to complete. And this can discourage people from playing with those kind of people. But normal mode, you could definitely play any build you want as a tank, as a healer, as a damage dealer, with the right setup. Just like I said, in veteran mode, on some of these things you could even get by. Even some of the arenas that are 4-player, like the one in Berkmeyer, the Black Rose Prison. You can play that as a tank or healer, even without being specified tank or healer, you know, being specialized. So I really like this concept of what they've done here with not only the armory system, but the gear system. Like I said, it allows for a lot more flexibility, and it is going to be, need some more in-depth explaining on how you would set a character up for each role, which I will do eventually in a video, showing you how you could set up a character to be a tank, a healer, a damage dealer, pretty much all kinds of stuff. And it might even help a lot of people out with it. Oh, I actually did that wrong. Because I want my bow one. Toxic Barrage is a really great ability when you're in a challenging situation and you need just extra burst damage. Now, another thing is that this build's also set up right now for overland play, more of the assassin type stuff, or like Dark Brotherhood, Thieves Guild. That's why we have things like Camouflaged Hunter, because this way we get permanent weapon critical, and you also get that minor berserk after you deal critical damage from an enemy's flank. So this allows you to sneak up on an enemy and then attack them, and you get that extra crit. It's really great in those not only assassin moments, but those moments where you're trying to make your way through, let's say, a Dark Brotherhood mission where you have to kill somebody. You know, not just assassinate them, you know, like you have to assassinate them. But then there's other missions like the Thieves Guild where you got to sneak into a house and you got to do this. And you might not want to be seen by somebody, so you go up and kill them. And if you don't kill them and they see you, you have that extra burst damage from that 5% to do just a little bit more to kill them. So there's a lot of things like I could go over right now, but I don't want to make this video too long. I just kind of want to explain why this is really good for the game to have this extra flexibility in builds with the new gear set changes. Because even if you look at some of the other sets in the game, a lot of sets, for example, places like Aldemary Dominion, you have the Veiled Heritage set. This adds weapon and spell damage. It also adds critical chance. It adds armor. Really good for somebody who wants to be a little tanky, but also have that extra oomph. And then even if you look at the thing about the damage, it actually still applies weapon and spell damage at 468. If you look at some of the other sets, say Green Shade, or no, we'll actually go to Ebonheart Pact. Let's go to Shadowfen, I believe it is. Yeah, see, like Swamp Raider adds weapon and spell damage to your poison and disease damage abilities. Now, why would it add weapon and spell damage to your poison and disease damage abilities? No, there's no spell damage for those things, because when they made this change, it applied it to everything. Every set that gets weapon and spell damage in any way gets that extra weapon and spell damage regardless. If you look at dungeon sets, City of Ash, I believe it is, Burning Spellweave now also adds weapon and spell damage for 8 seconds whenever you apply Burning Status Effect. The reason why I keep bringing this up, and I'm pointing this stuff out, is think about people who play Sword and Shield, Magicka-based Dragon Knights. That gives them an ability to use the Sword and Shield skills and abilities along with their own fire-based stuff, because now they get that extra weapon damage and spell damage whenever they apply the Burning Status Effect. This allows a lot more flexibility, again. Or take something like, say, Trials, and you look at something like the Mauve Lorcage sets. These are ones that a lot of people don't use, except for Alkosh. Really popular one use. So let's take a look at Lunar Bastion. This is a tank set. Most people see it as that, and that's understandable. But it's also a really good set for somebody to use to help their group reduce damage. A really great support set, especially if you're using jewelry, weapons, and the bow for, say, a stamina character, or using stabs and the jewelry for a like healer character. And then also getting that Minor Aegis helps you out. Minor Aegis helps you out a little bit. And then you look at something like Moon Dancer, you know, or you look at, and it gives you the weapon spell damage now. So this allows sets to be more, again, universal. Look at Alkosh, critical chance and weapon spell damage. This is going to be great for somebody in a group, let's say a support character, not just a tank, but somebody playing DPS and using it for support, whether they're stamina or magicka, they can use this set and be more effective with it in that group setting. So again, lots of really good things that you can do using a lot of these sets. I mean, you look at the Basize Mania. Really good set for a DPS to use. Not just magicka or stamina, but both, because of the fact that it increases your damage done to non-player enemies by 15% based on your missing magicka. A stamina character isn't going to have a lot of missing magicka. They're going to have a low magicka to begin with, but that's okay. They can still use it, and it can still be viable for a limited amount of time until you get a better set. But it's still a good set. The Saxiel Champion, magicka, stamina, you know, it's a hybrid type thing, and a lot of people are like, oh, it's a tank thing, because it's when you use an ultimate ability in combat, you end up loving group members, gain major force, for 1 second per 15 ultimate spent. Yeah, but now it can be more hybrid for more of a hybrid support character, or even a tank, or a magic, you know, a healer. Anyone can use it, which I think is really good. And then even Stone Talkers, you look at this one. Yes, it's more magicka based, but if you're playing a hybrid based character, you get that extra magicka and all that extra magicka recovery, and then your fully charged heavy attacks place the soul bomb on the enemy. This could also be really good for PvP, PvE, damage, and dungeons. Just a lot of different things. And yeah, some sets are still going to be considered really good for those situations and those things. I mean, there's one here that I'm not a really big fan of, which is Reliquant. I think it's a kind of a missed opportunity for the devs to create a set that's very not overblown. Now this one doesn't get the crit chance bonus, but look at it. It's like crit damage bonus. It can't crit. It just does the damage. But it's still really good when you look at it. Now gives critical chance for both things, max stamina, and then that light and heavy attacks apply a stack of harmful winds that increase that deal physical damage per stack. Because it does that, just because it does the physical damage, doesn't mean that a magicka-based person can't use it. Because it scales off whatever is higher, your stamina or your weapon damage or your spell damage. So this is even a set that a magic-based character can use. There's a lot of different things that this opens up that allows for a more robust gameplay experience, not only for players, but for people who like to discover new ways to play using these sets. And again, this is not to say that there isn't going to be combinations of sets that are going to be bad, or good, or horrible, or just don't work. There's still going to be that. But having the ability to more or less maximize how your character plays based on the tools you're using is great. And it allows for more versatility, not only in the experience of, hey, I want to be a magicka character today, I want to be a stamina character today, I want to be for damage, or I want to be a tank, or I want to be a healer. It opens the door to more players allowing themselves to be more creative and having that creative functionality to themselves in the game. I mean, think about how many people wanted to be somebody like, for example, Gandalf, using a sword and a staff. They couldn't do that before. They couldn't use dual wield and a staff. It was impossible. And it wasn't impossible. It sucked big time because you couldn't get enough stats. You couldn't do this or that. Now you can do things to where you can flex how your character plays based on the situation or based on your own ways you want to play. You can carry a staff on the back bar, dual wield on the front bar. Now that the stats are universal, you can take things like, say, Julianus, which I already checked, which gives you the crit chance, the 2 crit chance, the max magicka, and then 300 extra weapon and spell damage. Put that on your character with the setup like, say, something from... Let's go with Clockwork City. And we're going to go with the Mad Tinker. You could take Mad Tinker, put it with that, and because it does this shock damage, it summons this creature, you could be like this summoner person with your dual wield, you know, you're fighting somebody and all of a sudden you summon out all these creatures because it's when you deal damage. Not you have to deal a specific type of damage, it's just whenever you deal damage. So that means physical or magical. Now the crit chance applies to both. The weapon and spell damage applies to both. So it makes these things, like I said, more universal. It allows for a lot more creativity. And I'm not saying that it's going to be perfect or it's going to be great. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done to look at these sets and see how you can intertwine them, mix them together to create the kind of build that you want to play. And I'm just hoping that people see that people see all this stuff and go, wow, there's so much to the game now that you can do that's not restricting you anymore. I can play this character that I wanted to play before. I want to make this bard character. Now I can. I wanted to make this character that was like a cleric in D&D. Now I can. I want to make a character like a priest from World of Warcraft. Now you can. And you can make it work because of these changes. Now, again, like I said, a lot of the builds that you're going to see coming out, you know, a lot of people are going to min-max stuff to its fullest potential, and we're still going to have a meta. That's not going to change. But it doesn't mean that you can't create the things you want using, you know, similar structure to, say, a meta-type build, but using your own, you know, constructive ideas to create the build you want. And I think that that's going to be really good for the game. And again, it's gonna allow for a lot of growth. It's going to allow for a lot of more diversity in the game, a lot more I think you're going to see a lot more players creating the builds they want to play and not limiting themselves to specifics. Also, I have to say this, I didn't notice this until today. It was something added, and I want to say thank you. But the ability to swap bars, still see a timer for the skill in the back, is great. I mean, I almost want to say there's almost no reason to use certain add-ons anymore because they're just not necessary when the game does everything that add-ons does now. So I have to say thank you. I hadn't noticed that that was there until I was looking through the settings. And I saw that in the combat section. You can now have the ability bar timers and the ability bar back row showing on all the time. And I think that's just awesome. It helps so much. Even though it keeps my eyes focused more on the bar than it is on the stuff going around sometimes. That's just personal thing I gotta train myself not to do, but I do it. So... But yeah, that's it. I mean, I'm really excited for these changes. I can't wait to see the kind of builds that I can create now. And I'm pretty sure most of you are too. Pretty excited. So, going into that, I am going to tell you I'm going to be doing builds a lot different now because now I can take one build and create 4 builds from it. Or 5 builds if I want to. It really just depends on how I want to put together things with the build. And I might do that as time goes on. We'll just have to wait and see. But that's it for the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, you guys know what's coming next. Go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, you can subscribe. If you do subscribe, I do suggest you click that notification bell to be notified when I post new videos. Other than that, thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and this guy might see you in game. Bye.